8 stacked trays, 1 square meter of floor space. No soil, no tractors, no waiting seasons for harvest. Scientists at Rutgers University calculated the output. What they found made them recheck their numbers. This single corner produces more protein annually than a quarter-acre soybean field. The plant responsible doubles its mass every 3 days. NASA selected it above every other candidate for feeding astronauts in orbit. A clinical trial at Ben Gurion University measured its protein absorption against cheese, the gold standard of bioavailability. The results were nearly identical. Yet walk into any Western grocery store. You will not find it. Ask any American farmer. Most have never heard of it. 2 forces explain this invisibility. One involves how we define farming. The other involves who profits when you cannot grow your own food. By the end of this video, you will understand the mathematics that make this possible and the exact system that fits inside a closet. The protein shortage everyone warned you about has a solution floating on water. For generations in northern Thailand, families have harvested tiny green spheres from still water. They call it kai nam. Eggs of the water, no farm required, no fertilizer purchased. Just patience measured in hours and protein measured in results. Fresh in omelets, stirred into soups, a complete protein source so obvious they never thought to question it. Then, Dr. Eric Lam at Rutgers University started asking questions the agricultural establishment ignored. Could the smallest flowering plant on Earth feed the largest population crisis in history? His laboratory began cataloging strains. The fastest doubled their mass every 48 hours. Some species measured less than 1 millimeter across. Wolffia globosa, smaller than a grain of sand, more protein per gram than beef. NASA had already noticed. In 1966, duckweed flew on an orbital satellite alongside chlorella algae, decades before protein powder became a billion-dollar industry. The space agency tested it on the MER station, grew it in closed biological systems. In 2020, the Translational Research Institute for Space Health published findings that changed everything. Most protein-dense plant on the planet. Produces radiation-fighting antioxidants. Thrives under artificial light at half the intensity crops typically require. The numbers seemed impossible, until researchers started counting. Researchers Appenroth and colleagues published their findings in Food Chemistry in 2017. Duckweed protein content ranges from 20 to 45% dry weight. For comparison, beef sits at 26%, eggs at 13%, soybeans reach 36% on their best day. A plant you can grow in a bucket outperforms the entire meat counter at your grocery store. But protein quantity means nothing without quality. The amino acid profile determines whether your body can actually use what you consume. Wolffia globosa contains all 9 essential amino acids. Every single one your body cannot manufacture on its own. The distribution meets or exceeds World Health Organization requirements for human nutrition. A clinical study published in Clinical Nutrition in 2018 measured something called PDCAAS, Protein Digestibility Corrected Amino Acid Score, the industry standard for bioavailability. Mankai duckweed scored 89%, nearly identical to cheese, a plant protein absorbing like dairy. The researchers had to verify their instruments. Now examine the growth mathematics. Current Biology published a paper in 2023 that made plant scientists reconsider everything they assumed about biological limits. Under favorable conditions, duckweed doubles its biomass clonally in 48 to 72 hours. Ziegler and colleagues measured doubling times as fast as 1.34 days. Indoor cultivation pushed even further. 1.24 days recorded under controlled conditions. A 2025 paper in Scientific Reports named it the closest plant to what theorists call Darwin-Wallace demons, the hypothetical organism that reproduces as fast as mathematically possible. This is not theoretical. This is measured. This is published. This is floating on ponds within miles of where you live. Compare this to anything else you might grow for protein. Soybeans require 90 days minimum from planting to harvest. Beef cattle need 18 months to reach slaughter weight. Duckweed doubles before most people remember to check their garden. The yield comparisons destroy every assumption about efficient land use. A 2024 paper in Science Direct compiled data across multiple studies. Duckweed produces 2,080 kilograms of protein per hectare per year. Soybeans produce 303. Corn produces 179. That is not a marginal improvement. Duckweed generates nearly 7 times more protein than soy from identical land area, almost 12 times more than corn. ACS Food. Science and Technology documented European greenhouse operations achieving 10 to 18 tons of protein per hectare annually. Soy in the same climate produces 0.6 to 1.2 tons. One researcher summarized it simply. The surface of a small pond can outproduce an entire soybean field. The environmental numbers eliminate every argument for industrial meat production. Food and Bioprocess Technology published 2025 data showing duckweed produces 0.4 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram of plant material. Beef produces 27, nearly 70 times the environmental impact. No tractors churning soil. No pesticides poisoning watersheds. No competition for cropland that could grow forests. Ben Gurion University conducted a randomized controlled trial. 36 men, 3 test meals, cheese versus peas versus Mankai duckweed, each providing 30 grams of protein. Blood draws measured essential amino acid absorption over hours. The duckweed performed comparably to cheese. Then something unexpected appeared in the data. Serum vitamin B12 levels increased, a plant-based source of the nutrient vegans struggled to obtain. Follow-up research confirmed bioactive B12 using mass spectrometry analysis. Now the calculation that changes everything. Rutgers University documented their fastest strains producing 20 grams of dried biomass per square meter daily. At 35% protein, that yields 7 grams of pure protein per square meter each day. Stack 8 trays vertically, 56 grams of protein daily from 1 square meter of floor space. That is 20.4 kilograms annually. The average adult needs roughly 20 kilograms of protein per year. 1 corner, 1 square meter, 1 year of protein. The math works. The publications exist. The question is why nobody told you. 3 forces converge to bury this knowledge from Western awareness. First, it looks wrong. Western agriculture worships visual spectacle. A cornfield stretching to the horizon photographs well for farm subsidies and political campaigns. A plant requiring magnification to appreciate does not broadcast success. Wolffia globosa measures less than 1 millimeter. No roots visible, no stems, no leaves in any traditional sense, just green spheres floating like something you would scrape off a neglected aquarium. Cultural conditioning taught us bigger means better. This plant ignored the memo. Second, it cannot be patented. No corporation profits from something that reproduces by splitting in half. Monsanto cannot sell you proprietary duckweed seeds when the plant clones itself overnight. John Deere cannot manufacture specialized duckweed harvesters when a kitchen strainer works perfectly. No processing facility inserts itself between your bucket and your breakfast. Every middleman in industrial agriculture loses margin when you grow protein at home. The soybean industry generated $57 billion in 2024. Who funds research that threatens to make their entire market irrelevant? Dr. Wayne Armstrong at California State University spent decades documenting duckweed species across North America. He found Wolffia globosa growing wild within miles of major American universities, floating in campus ponds, ignored by agricultural departments studying crops that required expensive inputs, hidden in plain sight. Third, the industrial food system depends on complexity. Long supply chains justify logistics companies. Storage infrastructure justifies warehouses and refrigeration networks. Processing facilities extract profit at every step between farm and table. A plant that grows in any container and requires no distribution network threatens the entire model. Self-sufficiency cannot be monetized. Independence cannot be packaged and sold. But Thailand never lost the knowledge. Families continued harvesting kai nam from village ponds, serving it fresh the way their grandparents taught them. Space exploration changed the economic equation. NASA needed food for closed environments, fast growth, minimal inputs, maximum nutrition. Suddenly, the plant Western agriculture ignored became strategically valuable. The 2020 partnership between the Translational Research Institute and University of Colorado Boulder confirmed what villagers always knew. 600 grams of fresh Wolffia meets an adult's daily protein requirements. Commercial recognition followed government interest. Parabel USA developed lentine protein powder. Hinoman in Israel commercialized mankai as a premium superfood. The European Food Safety Authority approved Wolffia globosa for human consumption. What grandmothers harvested freely now commands health store prices. The companies want you dependent on their supply chain. But the original system required nothing they sell. Here is exactly how to build the system. Start with any container that holds water. A 5-gallon bucket works perfectly. Cheap, stackable, available at any hardware store. Plastic storage bins work even better. Wide and shallow. Maximum surface area. Kiddie pool scale production for serious output. Even a glass baking dish on your windowsill demonstrates the principle. The key is shape. Shallow and wide beats deep and narrow every time. Duckweed grows only on the surface. 3 inches of water depth is sufficient. More surface means more growth space. Stack 8 trays vertically in 1 square meter, and you multiply production without expanding your footprint. Water requirements are simple. Dechlorinated tap water works fine. Let it sit overnight in an open container. The chlorine evaporates naturally. Rainwater works even better if you collect it. Pond water is ideal for those with access. Any pet store sells water conditioner that speeds the process. Target a pH between 6 and 7.5. Most municipal tap water already falls within this range. Temperature should stay between 60 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Duckweed tolerates wider variation than most crops. Avoid extreme swings. Nutrients determine protein content. Fish tank water provides perfect nitrogen balance. The waste products fish excrete are exactly what duckweed craves. No aquarium? Dilute any balanced liquid fertilizer to 1/5 the recommended strength. A few drops of aquarium plant food weekly maintains growth. Even a small amount of decomposing organic matter releases enough nutrients to sustain a starting culture. Scientific reports published 2025 data showing optimal growth at 4% biogas slurry concentration. The principle scales from kitchen scraps to agricultural waste streams. Higher nitrogen availability pushes protein content toward 45%. Nutrient-poor conditions drop it to 15. Match your inputs to your desired output. Acquiring starter culture is easier than you expect. Check local ponds. Order online from aquarium suppliers. Ask anyone keeping fish tanks. 1 tablespoon starts an entire bucket. Float your starter culture across 10 to 20% of the water surface. Leave room to observe the doubling. Overcrowding initially stunts growth rate. Optimal density sits around 1 kilogram wet weight per square meter. Light requirements favor the patient. 6 hours of bright indirect light minimum. A sunny windowsill delivers sufficient intensity. A shaded patio produces slower but steady growth. Direct scorching sun overheats shallow water. LED grow lights enable year-round indoor production. NASA research confirmed duckweed thrives at half the light intensity most crops require. Harvesting rewards consistency. Wait 48 to 72 hours. Watch coverage double. Skim half the surface using a fine mesh net or kitchen strainer. Leave the other half to continue growing. Rinse harvested plants in clean water. Use fresh immediately in smoothies and salads. Fold into omelets the way Thai cooks have done for generations. Or spread thin on mesh trays to dry into protein powder. Harvest every 3 to 5 days for continuous production. Fresh duckweed refrigerates for 3 months without preservatives. One critical warning: never dump excess into natural waterways. Invasive potential exists. Compost the surplus. Feed it to chickens. Tilapia farmers cut feed costs by 50% using duckweed alone. The mathematics cannot be argued. The clinical trials are published. The system fits inside a closet. 20 kilograms of protein annually from 1 square meter of floor space. No soil, no farmland, no supply chain standing between you and your nutrition. The Thai grandmother harvesting from buckets understood something industrial agriculture tried to bury. NASA scientists calculating spacecraft provisions confirmed what she already knew. The clinical researchers in Israel measured what generations experienced. Protein independence was never about acreage or income or permission from systems designed to keep you dependent. It was about understanding what floats on still water, doubling while you sleep. Now you understand. If this changed how you think about food, watch the next video and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.